Stephen Miller, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, is here with me now. Stephen, thanks very much for being in the arena.
Glad to. Thank you.
So you called the judge's order just earlier today, quote, patently unlawful, end quote, and said that it was an assault on democracy itself. Does that mean that the administration is ignoring this order, and might you ignore future court orders that meet the criteria you laid out?
The President of the United States and his administration reserve all rights under the Constitution to conduct national security operations in defense of the United States. The Alien Enemies Act, which was passed into law by the founding generation of this country, men like John Adams, was written explicitly to give the President the authority to repel an alien invasion of the United States. That is not something that a district court judge has any authority whatsoever to interfere with, to enjoin, to restrict, or to restrain any way. You can read the law yourself. There's not one clause in that law that makes it subject to judicial review, let alone district court review.
So, Stephen, when you say that this person has no authority at all, this is how our system works. It starts with these judges and then continues up. At what point does it become, in your view, legal for the justice system to be looking at this and making a judgment? And I fail to see how there's any other way but to start with where we're starting here before you get to eventually the Supreme Court.
Well, so first of all, there's a term in law, justiciable. This is not justiciable. In other words, this is not subject to judicial remedy. When the president is exercising his Article 2 powers to defend the country against an invasion, or to repel a foreign terrorist that is unlawfully in the country, he's exercising his core Article 2 powers as commander-in-chief.
Is Venezuela invading the U.S.?
This is a very important point. This is a Title 50 authority. It's a commander-in-chief authority. So just to ask you a simple question, you talk about how the system works. Does a district court judge have the right to direct or enjoin troop movements overseas? Yes or no?
Well, Stephen, my question...
Well, no,
if you could answer my question first,
in other words,
is Venezuela invading our country in a way that would apply this way?
So I'll answer yours and you'll answer mine. Under the terms of the statute, Tren de Aragua is an alien enemy force that has come here as detailed at length in the proclamation at the direction of the Venezuelan government. The statute says that a president has the ability to repel an invasion or predatory incursion that is directed by a foreign
state
government.
or a government, right? Are they a state or a government?
This would be, yes, it is documented. That TDA was sent by the Venezuelan government in the proclamation. And here's an even more important point. Under the Constitution, who makes that determination? A district court judge elected by no one, or the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy? The president and the president alone makes a decision of what triggers that determination.
So do you then think we are actually at war with Venezuela, the nation state of Venezuela?
You're not hearing me and you're not understanding me. Read the statute, Alien Enemies Act, 1798. It says if a predatory incursion is perpetrated by a foreign government, so it lists three qualifying actions. It could be an act of...
Oh boy, when he said, "You're not listening," or what he said, it was like someone referring to their wife or something. You know, you're talking to me, but you're not listening. With this reporter, they all get it, right? They play a game of dumb face, right? Because they're left-wing propaganda. They're paid. These NGOs get the money. Democrats money launder the money. They send it out different. And some of that pie goes to all of these left-wing media outlets, right? They're not this stupid. So as conservatives, we can't get so emotionally charged to think that they don't get it. They get it. It's the game they play. So the game she's playing here is gloss over everything, facts he's proven. And it's like, oh, so are you saying we're at war with Venezuela? Right? And she looks like, huh? I got you. Because she's going to put a reaction out there that her viewers will be like, yeah, like, would agree with, right? She's not into deep thinking. But it's important that people like Stephen Miller get on these liberal shows to break it down, because we really don't need dummies voting. Let's just be honest. But if the majority, 51% is all we need, baby, the majority of people are smart people who vote, the country's going to be okay. And that's really what we need. But this crap, what she's talking about, I mean, he's chewing her a new ass on how the things work. The president, it's in the president's powers to do what he's doing. And it's up to the president's discretion to make these decisions. It has nothing to do with judges, Really, what I want to know is, when all these illegals came into our country, where were the Republican judges? Why didn't they just step up and be like, red flag, Republicans need to take a playbook. I'm tired of us playing the game all fair and not wanting to ruin our reputation. Republican judges should have been throwing red flags and saying this was illegal, unconstitutional, because you have the numbers at the Supreme Court. If it would have went up to the Supreme Court, it would have got all of this would have got litigated and looked at a lot quicker. But thank God we got a president like Trump, and I just hope that whoever becomes the next Republican president, he doesn't he doesn't have a little water in his tank or a little sugar in his tank, that he could hold strong and keep the good fight. That's what America's about, the good fight and integrity. And, there's nothing wrong with having people here. But, if someone, punches a lady, right, and you arrest them, it's cool because you can see his background. So if it's his first offense, he might get off. But, man, if he's got a long track record, you're not going to get no easy time for punching that lady. Illegal come over here and punch a lady. How the hell you know his background, what they've been doing? You don't know nothing about this person's history, right? So it doesn't matter if they come over here and commit a little crime. The fact is, when you catch them, you don't know who the hell you're dealing with, Look, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Let's get back to the video.
Wrong. Look up the statute. It's on my account on social media.
That's actually where we
Everyone
found
can
it
go see
earlier.
Yes. It says, or a predatory incursion, or an invasion. The statute delineates 3 criteria for triggering the Alien Enemies Act. One is an act of war, which, by the way, an invasion is an act of war, but put that aside. One is an invasion, which this is. One is a predatory incursion, which this is. So it actually meets all 3 statutory criteria. But with respect to this particular statute, the proclamation is utilizing the incursion and invasion language in the statute.
So,
but this is a very important
Steven.
question, because no, hold on. It's a very important question. You said the way our system works is the President of the United States commands the armed forces of the country, commands the foreign policy of the country, and that's subject to district court review. That is fundamentally untrue.
I never said that, Stephen. I did not say.
That has never been true.
This was not a military operation.
A district court judge can no more enjoin the expulsion of foreign terrorists to foreign soil than he can direct the movement of Air Force One, that he can direct the movement of an aircraft carrier, that he can direct Marco Rubio to engage in diplomacy in a country or not.
Do you think the Supreme Court has any say over this or not? Does the Supreme Court of the United States have any say over the things that you were just outlining right here?
I believe what the Supreme Court will say is what I just said, which is that the president's conduct here is not subject to judicial review.
Okay, but you are acknowledging that they do, in fact, have a say here, even though you think they may agree with you.
What we are expecting is the Supreme Court to say what has always been the case, which is when the president is using his powers as commander-in-chief, those determinations are not subject to judicial review. In other words, the president's designation of Nicaragua as a foreign terrorist organization and as an alien enemy are part of his inherent plenary authority. There is no way.
At what point in the
there is
system,
no way.
Stephen,
How are you going to expel? Hold
power?
on. How are you going to expel illegal alien invaders from our country who are raping little girls, who are murdering little girls, if each and every deportation has to be adjudicated in a district court judge? And that means you have no country. It means you have no sovereignty. It means you have no future. It is fundamentally incompatible to have a country and have individual expulsions adjudicated by a single district court judge.
I'm just trying to figure out at what point in the system do you, because what does the Trump administration believe? Because we do have separation of powers in this country. I hear what you're saying.
Yes,
you're saying
separation
the district
of powers.
court does
This
not
is the judiciary
have authority.
interfering
Stephen,
in
let me finish.
the executive function.
Let me
That
finish.
is the separation of powers. That is the
Did
separation
you
of
ignore
powers.
the judge's order here because you thought you could?
So the judge's order and the actions taken by the Departments of Defense, Justice, and Homeland Security are not in conflict. And the Department of Justice has been clear that they are not in conflict. But
So you think that you did go along with the order that the judge put out? You do not think that the Trump administration defied this order?
As the Justice Department said, there is no conflict between the judge's order and the actions taken by the departments I just listed. But I'm making a deeper and more fundamental point.
Yeah.
The district
but so,
court
yeah, I mean, if you
has
don't have
no
to follow
ability.
it, why didn't you?
The district court has no ability to in any way restrain the president's authorities under the Alien Enemies Act or his ability to conduct the foreign affairs of the United States. Let me paint a picture for you. President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio had engaged in intensive diplomacy to obtain a bilateral security agreement with the nation of El Salvador. If a district court judge can enjoin that bilateral security agreement, then we do not have a democracy.
Stephen, you've made your argument.
We do not have a foreign policy.
We've heard you say this. Did you ignore, did the administration ignore the order from the district judge? It's a simple question.
I've answered it. I've answered it because the Department of Justice has made a filing in the court. But let me make another point. The judge, in this case, put the lives of every single person on those aircraft at risk. Did he know how much fuel was in those planes? Did he know the flight conditions? Did he know the weather conditions? Did he know how many crew hours? Did he know the need for crew rest? Did he know any of that? No. This judge violated the law. He violated the Constitution.
So do
he
you
defied
think that
the system of government that we have in this country.
Because that does seem to be what you're arguing.
These same district court judges didn't do a damn thing to stop Joe Biden from flooding this nation with millions of illegal aliens. These district court judges didn't issue any injunctions to save the lives of Jocelyn Nungary or Laken Riley or anyone else.
The federal courts. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is...
See, before I kind of got off track, that was kind of my point right there. These judges did nothing, Republican judges too, to stop all this illegal invasion into the country. Now, if you know you have majority Republican on the Supreme Court, if you're a Republican federal judge somewhere, why don't you just throw your flag in? You know, like a referee, just throw your flag in. Penalty. I call flag. I call bullshit on allowing all these illegals into the country. Why they didn't do that? You know? But hence the reason they didn't do it, because they knew this was a huge blow and a victory for the Republicans at the ballot booth, because they knew that this would look so bad on them, they would lose elections. So it was like, hey, let them come in and, you know, we'll get them out of office. So I kind of think maybe that was the thinking. But this reporter wants to be right instead of just asking questions. Just ask him a question, say, okay, and go on with the next question. She literally has one thing she's trying to hammer in, and she wants him to answer it a certain way to make him look a certain way. You know, it's pure propaganda. But I like the way he deals with her, because some of these conservatives, they get on there and they think that they made their point. The thing is, when you go on these shows, you're not talking to a conservative audience who totally gets it. You're talking to brainwashed people who watch CNN daily, and they're brain fucked. They don't have a clue what the fuck is going on. So you have to answer these questions, kind of like Stephen does, in a way that you break it down, and that every time you go in there, you win one or two over. You're not going to win them all over, But if every time you go in there, you win 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and you're never going to get rid of the Democrat Party, but we can get it diminished, watered down till they'll never win an election. You can definitely do that because people are smart. Everybody's ignorant to everything until something becomes they're educated too. So you might be smart at electrical, have an electric trade, but you're stupid at everything else, right? But it's not that you're stupid. You're ignorant to other things because you haven't learned them yet, right? So we're all ignorant to the things that we've not learned to, and so are Democrats. They're just ignorant to the totality of what's really going on in the world, and really of how much the people they choose to get their sources from really go leaps and bounds to push the propaganda. Republicans, they're fighting a situation where they go out there to push the news, what's going on and what's up. And while the other side, they're really trying to push a propaganda, and that's why if you hear one talking point on one channel, you can go NBC, they'll say the same thing, CBS, same thing, NBC, same thing, CNN, same thing. And then let's say a month later they have a new narrative, then they'll drop that narrative within 2 days, and that all the stations will all say the same thing because they get their reports, the propaganda, and hey, this is what we're running with. It's not about trying to make the country good or safe or whatever. Like, if their end goal, I don't really know that the Democrats' end goal is to destroy America. I think their end goal solely is to destroy the Republicans, but what they don't realize is by the means in which they're willing to do it, they're destroying the country, right? So this whole thing they're dragging the mud with transgenderism is because they thought at one point it was a winning for them to paint the Republicans as the rich people. First it was the white man, the rich white man, then the racist white man, the misogynist, and the homophobe, right? So these are the things. So, the transgender thing was just another stepping stone, to try to eliminate the Republican Party. But what it did is it contributed to the deterioration of our country, right? So I don't really think the sole purpose of the Democrats' agenda is to tear down and destroy America as much as it is to destroy Republicans. And until Republicans I don't know if Republicans should have an agenda to just tear down and destroy Democrats, because we see what they do. But as long as Republicans stick to the truth, and their agenda is to search for truth and search what's good for the country, we're going to be all right. Hey, thank you for tuning in to the channel. I was your host, Johnny Caruso. You're on the ground with Political Decode, baby. And until next time, I'm out. Love, peace, happiness.